Ever since the beginning of time, people have been fascinated with space. The Mayans, the Aztecs, the Romans, great minds of the past have pondered over the vast rift ever since we first noticed the deep glistening above. Aristotle, Copernicus, Da Vinci, Einstein. The greatest minds the world has ever known all share the obsession, the fascination, the streaming desire to touch the void, to push their presence out beyond the stars to the infinity beyond. I too share this desire, but I'm going to do something about it. My name is Seth Krenzel, and I'm going to send a message into space. Lying in my bed during the cold winter of 2004, my eyes were buried in a Kurt Vonnegut book. My mind, as usual, was elsewhere, and suddenly a mental leap occurred. From a passage in the novel that stated,
God created mud. Mud sat up and looked around. I am mud. I am so thankful that I got the chance to sit up and look around. So much mud did not get that opportunity.
I realized that I exist. I realized that ever since the Big Bang that created the universe, the direction of every little molecule in every direction had to happen exactly as it did for me to be here, to be alive. And I knew that I had to say thank you. A message into space. It was perfect. My message: I am alive. Thank you. Now how do I do it? Being a longtime supporter of the idea that there is intelligent life somewhere in the universe, I knew of only one organization that had the means and will to send a message into space. SETI, or Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, is a once government-owned, now privately funded organization set up to explore, understand, and explain the origin, nature, and prevalence of life in the universe. The entire operation is based on the theory that it is possible to detect the presence of extraterrestrial civilizations using radio telescopes. In fact, back in August of 1977, a frequency was received from space. It is called the WOW signal because the scientist that came across it wrote WOW in the column of the printout. Besides the unusual strength, another possible indicator of the signal's authenticity comes from the rise and fall of the signal over a period of 72 seconds. If the signal were truly received from space, because of the Earth's rotation, it would rise as the focal point got closer and fall as it passed by. The length of this rotation would be almost exactly 72 seconds. Wow. A man who goes by the alias of Dr. SETI is in charge of handling all of the questions for the organization, so I decided to email him directly and ask about sending my message into space. He replied with a website. So I clicked on his link and brought up all of these government regulations and protocols about communicating with aliens. So I respond. I do not want to talk to aliens. After some time, he responds back with an email address of a man named Alexander Zaitsev. I send off a communication and wait. Located deep in the heart of Russia, Alexander Zaitsev and a team of highly trained physicists work tirelessly on communication with space, which I assume is the reason he's not emailing me back. After many months of purgatory, I hear from Alexander, and he passes me up the ladder to the head of the program, a man who goes by the name of Richard. I send off a message to Richard and pray for the best. Okay, so I feel like I'm getting the email runaround, and I still really don't know anything about space. I think I need to find some outside information. So I'm here at the Connecticut Science Center, West Hartford, and I'm about to go talk to Jason Archer. He's the head of the planetarium, and we're going to see what kind of information he's got for us. Let's go.
I've been here since '96. Before that, I was in school. I went to UMass and studied astronomy. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. I actually wanted to be a rock and roll god, but that didn't work, and ended up here. And I just kind of stayed and became the assistant director, staff astronomer, and then my former boss of the planetarium, who I worked for, left. And they're like, I guess you do okay, Chase. You can have the job. So that's been 4 or 5 years now that I've been, the director of the planetarium and all that. My thing is using the planetarium as a vehicle to better humanity, better people. If you come in here and you have a good experience and you learn something new and realize your daily little problems or whatever that you're struggling through, there's a bigger picture out there. There's a lot of wonder and fascination. That's what's important to me, is that human wonder about the universe. For me, the study, or the interest in astronomy is more, I hate to say it, it's a little bit more spiritual. It's a little bit more, I tend to think of not numbers and facts so much, but I tend to think of astronomy and science and all that as pulling people together and exposing people to new things. That's how I think of astronomy.
So do you know about where the center of the universe might be?
How to get there? Yeah, you're going to head out of the driveway here, take a right. You get to the light, take a left, and then, there is no center of the universe. The universe itself is expanding. It's expanding outward, and there's no real center. You could travel out into the universe, and as far as you kept traveling, you'd eventually hit the end, and you'd eventually wrap back around and come back on yourself. It's a tough concept to grab onto. Think of the universe like a loaf of bread, and that the loaf of bread is rising in the oven. You've got all these little raisins and things, and those little raisins are galaxies or whatever, and everything's expanding away from everything else. There's no real center. That's one analogy. Yeah, there's a center to loaf of bread, but you're not going to find a center.
Right. Is it kind of like the skin of a balloon, and that you're just going around?
That's a good analogy. You can think about it like that, too. Yeah. The farther you look out into the universe, the farther you're looking back towards the beginning of the universe. So, whatever direction you send your signal out in, it's going to eventually, get to the beginning of the universe, but it's like not a center point, if that makes sense. From that end of it, it's in here. And I mean, you can send a signal out and all that stuff, and if you want to talk the philosophical, the spiritual side of that, that's, because I study Buddhism too, you got to go inside here to be able to go out there and touch people and touch the universe. Sounds like you're reaching for something, man. You're looking for something. You're looking for the divine or something like that. And if you study, I have a friend who he has a guru, and he's seen Amma many times, and he's had enlightening experiences, and the way he's gotten them through are just deep reflection and struggle, lots of hurt and struggle, and just openness to the potential of existence. Lots of hope. Lots of hope.
A few months later, and I still have not heard from Richard, I send him his 20th email and continue gathering information about space.
I teach earth science and astronomy. Earth science is a freshman course. Most of the freshmen in the school take it. And I teach astronomy as a one-semester elective for juniors and seniors. And we have a planetarium, so I get to run that as well, not only for the astronomy classes, but we do guest shows I've had preschool, I've had Cub Scouts and Girl Scouts, I've even had a few adults want to come in and see the show. I guess I've been interested in the sky and space for a long time. I remember as a kid watching the Apollo missions on TV, and I knew all the astronauts' names and who was on what mission. And when I decided to become a teacher, I looked at different areas of science that I liked, and I enjoyed the earth science. I taught middle school before I came here, and the middle school program had a lot of astronomy in it. And when the opportunity came to not only teach at the high school level, but also work in a planetarium, I jumped at it. Actually, having that globe would be a help, as long as you're editing. If this is the Earth, then the moon would be about the size of a softball, maybe a little bit smaller. And I'll ask my students, I'll ask them in earth science, I'll ask them in astronomy, how far away should I stand if I'm the moon? And most kids will have me stand just a few feet away, maybe 3 feet, maybe 6 feet away. And the actual scale for this model, if the Earth is 12 inches in diameter and the moon is about 3 or 4 inches in diameter, the actual scale for the moon would be about 30 feet away, or the full length of the classroom away. And most kids don't get an appreciation for that, for the scale. The sun would be about a quarter of a mile away. If we were to actually do this to scale and act this out, we could go out, have one person stand at one end of the parking lot and the other person stand at the far end of the school property, and it might be a fairly representative scale model. And most students, even most adults, don't appreciate those huge distances that we're talking about. It sounds like a fascinating organization. They obviously are looking for extraterrestrial life, and the more I guess I learn about space, the more I realize how difficult their job is. There's so much out there, and the chances of finding life, wow. Is it out there? Well, I think I'm skeptical. I'll believe it when I see it, but I think to say that it's not out there would be a little narrow-minded. This time and space issue comes into play. If we've been broadcasting for, say for sake of argument, say 50 years ago, a radio signal leaves the Earth, and it just happens to go out into space and hit another planet, and they're listening also. If they respond, if it only gets there today, if they respond to us, it's still going to take 50 years for that signal to come back to us. So if you're an astronomer today, and you're relying on those radio signals that left us 50 years ago, either before you were an astronomer or before you were born, when they get back here, you'll be either retired or dead. I think it sounds pretty cool. I want to know when you hear back from somebody. I think that's great. How are you sending it? You said you were going to send this, you were going to transmit it?
Yeah. While I was away at a New Canaan high school, a small electric piece of information was moving at the speed of light from a mountain in Russia to my computer in Hartford, Connecticut. Richard tells me that his organization isn't sure when they're going to send a message into space next. I tell him the time is drawing near and I need to know if this can happen. He says, no.